who is going to fight Hamzat Chimaev? That's the topic of this week's UFC Paris main event, right? You got Imavov versus Borralho. The winner of that, people are going to be pushing to see fight Hamzat Chimaev in his first title defense of the middleweight division title, right? So, we're going to be talking about that obviously throughout this week and moving forward, regardless of who wins. You got some other big fights on this card as well at UFC Paris. You got some big fight announcements for UFC at 322 in November. This isn't even the final card of the year, but it seems like it because Islam Makhachev is on the card. So we're going to get into that. People are losing their minds because he has a chance to move up and grab the welterweight title. So these are the topics we're going to get into, and we're going to preview the entire card as well as get into some predictions for UFC Paris. Stay tuned.
Broadcasting live from an undisclosed location. This is the TCMMA podcast with your host, Chris Cross.
Whoa!
Dana White privilege.
Let's go, baby! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go, baby!
Dana White privilege. Privilege.
What's happening? This is your boy Chris Cross checking in. This is a TCMMA podcast, and we have been on a break for like the last 2 weeks. We did get one show in to discuss why Hamzat Chimaev is the wolf and the goat. Hopefully you didn't miss that episode 903. Go back and check that out. But today we're here to discuss UFC Paris, preview the entire card, get into the predictions, weigh in the chat room. Let us know who you like, Imavov or Borralho. The winner's probably facing Hamza, so this is a big topic of discussion this week. While you're watching, get involved in the super chat. Super chats will be read no matter what is said. Remember that. So get involved there. Super chats, we welcome those for sure. Now, before we get into UFC Paris, we had some big news yesterday, or not yesterday, a couple days ago actually, and that's going to be UFC 322. You got Islam Makhachev, number 3 on the due list, taking on JDM, number 10 for the welterweight title. This fight has been coming for some time. We've been hearing the chatter. It's just a matter of getting it booked, and it's finally booked. So Islam Makhachev wasted no time. Well, he's wasted a little time, like a year, right? But he's waiting on this fight, whether he's avoiding Topuria or however you want to look at it. And Topuria is number 2 on the due list. It doesn't matter. He's trying to get the welterweight title. And if he does, don't be surprised if Topuria follows him up to welterweight to try to become the first 3-belt champion. So that's what's up for grabs here. This is step 1. And, who's going to win this fight? Who knows? What we do know is JDM is a much better striker, like 6 significant strikes per minute to 2 for Islam, closer to 3, but like between 2 and 3 significant strikes per minute. But Makhachev can land the takedowns. JDM did a good job against Bilal stopping the takedowns, defending. That's how he won the fight. But Islam Makhachev is a whole different animal. So that's going to be an incredible fight. We have not done the prediction yet, but you can see how high Islam is up on the chart. The only difference is when a guy moves up, that's the ultimate question, right? That's where the dude list really comes into play. And then you get into the co-main event, and it's even more tricky. All right, you see there, Zhang Weili, number 17, has vacated the title. That's a new thing with the UFC. Vacated the strawweight, going up to flyweight to take on Valentina Shevchenko for the women's flyweight title. And if you're going to do it, this is the time to do it, because it seems like, Shevchenko has lost the belt, then got it back, right? But she's slowing down. So if you're going to do it, this is the time to do it. And this is going to be a good test. Now, in terms of the due list, 17 versus 18, that means we can really go either way with that one. That'll be a true surprise prediction because it's only one spot above Shevchenko, and moving up, that really equalizes the situation. So we're definitely going to be talking about those two fights. I believe The Islam versus JDM fight is probably the biggest fight scheduled right now, bar none. So that's what's coming in the near future. Some big, big fights on deck, and that's only November, ladies and gentlemen. That's not even the final card in December. Uh, the final pay-per-view event ever, it seems like, as the UFC gets ready to move over from ESPN to Paramount. I'm a little bit nervous about that. I mean, not really, but I just hope UFC or ESPN continues with the live stats that they've always provided, because that really helps during the watch party when we're reacting to the fights, being able to see the stats live. Of course, you can go to UFC, but I would argue that ESPN even does a better job with those live stats. So hopefully they're going to continue following the UFC and MMA as a whole in the way that they've done in the past. So that's where we're at with upcoming fights, and those are really the two big stories. I mean, you had Dylan Danis win a fight, so now he's chomping at the bit to get into the UFC. So you have that going on. We'll have to see how that plays out. It's really kind of too early to tell at this stage of the game. So let's dive into UFC Paris, right? You got in the first fight of the night, you got Sean O'Bannon versus Sam Hughes. That's Ireland versus USA. Sam Hughes actually 10-6, but 3-1 favorite. Then in fight two, I mean, you have an incredible fight, incredible. Andreas Gustafsson 12-2 takes on Renat Fakhretdinov from Russia, 23-1. And if you get a chance to watch that individual prediction, I go into detail of why the UFC is so great because of this. I mean, you got a 23-1 guy from Russia in the second fight of the night on a 14-fight card. That's why you can't miss any of this stuff. Then you got Brad Tavares versus Robert Brickshek, middleweight division. You got Sam Patterson versus Trey Waters. This guy's like 6'5", I believe. Yep, 6'5". He's huge for a welterweight. Rice McGee versus Sola from France. So you're going to have some odd names that you haven't heard of because they're trying to fill this card with as many French fighters as possible. Heavyweight division, Marcin Tybura versus Ante Delaja. And, you know, before you just start to say, well, Tybura is going to win that fight, it's even. It's even going in. Light heavyweight, Omar Sy versus Brenson Ribeiro. That's France versus Brazil. That's going to be a big one. And then rounding out the prelims, 8 fights worth, I believe. You got William Gomez taking on Rushala from Poland. He's 11-1. So Gomez from France, he's obviously going to be the crowd favorite. He's 14-3. Just a little more than a 2-1 favorite, but it's not 3, 4, 5-1. So who is Rushala? You have to watch the prediction, individual prediction for that. But here's our first prediction of the day. You got Patricio Pitbull from Brazil taking on Kita, making the UFC debut, I believe, 16-1 from Belgium. And these fights always interest me because it's like, okay, who's this guy coming into the UFC? Who did they lose to? And other than that, they're basically 16-0 if you take away the one loss. So you got a big time fighter coming in here. So let's waste no time and get into the first big pick of the day. Buckle your seatbelts. Here we go. In the featherweight division at UFC Paris, you got Patricio Pitbull taking on Lucien Kita, who's making his UFC debut on a main card in Paris. Gotta love it. Pitbull from Brazil, 37-8. Kita from Belgium, 16-1 with 10 KOs. Kita 3 inches taller at 5'9". He's 27. Pitbull 38. Oh my goodness, he's getting up there. Pitbull 67-inch reach. He fights right-handed, lands 2.7 significant strikes per minute. Not great. This is UFC averages, by the way, not the length of a career. And he lands a takedown on average every other round. Pitbull 88% takedown defense. Not bad. He did beat Dan Ige last time out. 5 takedowns to none, 55-47. Won by decision. Lost to Yair Rodriguez in the debut. Now Kita, aka Black Panther. Oh baby. 16 wins, 10 KOs, 6 decisions. He did get KO'd once. And, you know, I don't know if he has to worry about the KOs from Pitbull necessarily, but he's got to worry about the takedown game, right? But in 17 fights, he hasn't been submitted, but that could be competition level. He did lose to Mate Sanakize back in July of 2023. by TKO, but that was due to a leg injury. So he's really undefeated, right? Fighting out of Octagon MMA, um, winning all types of fights. Two of the last three have been TKO victories. He's got some decisions in there. Very difficult situation here to make a prediction. I mean, how do you go against Pitbull? He's got all types of experience, but he is 38. He's got to be slowing down. He beat Dan Ige. Kita, got to be honest, we don't know enough about him. But when you see a guy that basically had 17 fights and only lost one due to leg injury, so is that really a loss, right? I mean, he's basically undefeated, but the competition level isn't there. This is like flipping a coin and trying to make a determination. But in these situations, if I don't really know enough about the undefeated guy, and I'm seeing that he's fighting in a promotion like Octagon MMA, which no disrespect, it's not LFA, it's not Bellator back, it's not PFL, it's a little bit lower of a regional market. So, you know, if you're going to go on to be a great fighter, you should be undefeated. You should have all these wins piled up, but then it's hard to make a determination. Pitbull, we know what he's capable of. He beat Dan Ige. I just can't see him losing this fight. I mean, you never know. The crowd will probably be rooting for Kita. We'll see, but I still like Pitbull to get the win here after beating Dan Ige. I can't go against him, so I like Pitbull to get the win by decision. Hard to say how with the matchup and everything, but experience versus limited experience. We'll see what Kita does. Sometimes fighters come in their UFC debut like this and they're ready to rock, and something big happens for them because they're trying to get in the UFC. So that piques my interest a little bit too, but I can't base my prediction off of that. I like Pitbull to win, in my opinion, with the 38-8 featherweight division, UFC Paris. Yeah, so I just feel like you have to go with Pitbull in this situation, as we said in the prediction. I mean, he's got the experience. You got a guy coming in who doesn't have the experience. And that's just what it is. Now, these fights are taking place in Paris, so certain guys have advantages, especially those fighting at home. But when you're talking about Brazilians coming in, uh, which Pitbull is, they wreck the party, right? Don't invite Brazil to the party. You've heard me say it time and time again. That's why we got the t-shirts for sale. We're going to keep saying it. Now the next one, a similar situation, right? Lightweight division, Fares Ziem, 17-4, Kauai Fernandez from Brazil, okay, 10-2. And is this going to be a similar situation? Let's find out. Let's jump into this fight pick right now. In the lightweight division at UFC Paris, you got Fares Ziem taking on Kauai Fernandez. So high level matchup here, no doubt about it. Always great in the lightweight division. Ziem from France, 17-4, fighting at home. Fernandez from Brazil, coming in at 10-2. Don't invite Brazil to the party. Will that hold up here? Ziem, 4 inches taller at 6'1". He's 28. Fernandez, 30 years old. Ziem, 2-inch reach advantage. Both guys stand right-handed. Now, in terms of activity, Fernandez, 4 significant strikes per minute to 2.5 for Ziem. Both guys land like a takedown on average every other round. So, between 1 and 2 takedowns in this fight, unless they decide to really go for it. Ziem, 70% takedown defense versus 76 for Fernandez. So both guys just above the UFC average. Ziem won the last 5 fights over Mike Davis decision. KO'd Matt Frivola. Split decision over Claudio Puelles. Decision over Jai Herbert and McCall Figlak. And the common theme in the last 5 fights, why he's winning, is he's outstriking his opponent, right? So even against Claudio Puelles, 31-4 in significant strikes, but he gave up 7 takedowns. That's not good. But still 1 split decision because now it's the striking versus the takedowns, and you know how that goes. But in all fights, in 4 of the 5, he's had more takedowns. That was the only one he gave up more, but still outstriking his opponents. That's important. Fernandez coming off the win over Guram Kudalate by decision, so that's important. 2 takedowns to none, dominated by 50 significant strikes. Also beat Muhammad Yahya by first round KO, lost to Mark Diakis by split decision. So this is a very tough prediction. Ziem lost to Terrence McKinney by submission, beating everybody else. He's won 7 of the last 8, making it very, very difficult here. I mean, the X factor to me is Kawhi Fernandez. I don't like the Mark Diakise loss, um, but I think he's getting better. But is he good enough to win this fight? I mean, he's right at the prime, but Ziem is still young, man. And, he's fighting at home. I just don't see how he can lose this fight. And I greatly respect Brazil coming in, but I just think, or coming in on the road and not worrying about the crowd. Brazil always does a good job of that with their fighters, but Ziem is just too tough here. I like him to win. Uh, Not so much on the feet, but the takedown game has got to be there. You look at these numbers: 2.9 significant strikes per minute and 1.6, and you're like, how is he 17-4? But the dude finds ways to win. That's the bottom line. In my opinion, he gets a dub to move to 18-4, lightweight division, UFC Paris. Not this time. Can't go with Brazil in that one. Farisium is too good. He's too experienced, or has too much experience to lose that fight. So we like Farisium to get the job done in front of the home crowd. And there's no fight I like better than when we're fighting in another country. You have one fighter at home, the opposing fighter from Brazil, and let's see what happens. And it's hard to go against Brazil, but we had to in that one. In the next fight, light heavyweight division fight 3, we're not going to get into the prediction for this one, but you got Modestas Bukauskas 18-6 from Lithuania taking on Paul Craig 17-9 from Scotland. This is a fight that both guys have to win, but Bukauskas is nearly a 4-1 favorite. So he's a big favorite in this one. You also got Balaji Oki from Belgium 10-2 taking on Mason Jones 16-2 from Wales. So we'll see who the crowd goes with this one, but it should be Jones who gets more of the crowd favor in this fight. So light heavyweight division, then lightweight division, 2 of the best divisions in the UFC. The light heavyweight division is just on the rise. Now let's dive into the co-main event, lightweight division, back-to-back lightweight division fights. That's why people are excited about this card. From France, Benoit Saint-Denis, very good, 14-3. Takes on Mauricio Ruffy, 12-1 from Brazil. Another situation with Brazil entering the party. Here we go. Let's jump into it right now. In the lightweight division, your co-main event at UFC Paris, you got Benoit Saint-Denis taking on Mauricio Ruffy. Oh, baby. So in the co-main and the main event, you got France versus Brazil. Saint-Denis 14-3. He's had some setbacks though. Ruffy 12-1. Both guys at 5'11". Both guys 29 years old. Ruffy 2-inch reach advantage. He fights right-handed. Saint-Denis fights left-handed. Now Saint-Denis has an advantage on the feet. 5.4 significant strikes per minute to 4.5 for Ruffy. Also has an advantage on the ground with more than one takedown per round. And over 3 rounds, he usually has a submission and a half over the course of 3 rounds. So he's a very, very tough fighter to go against, and that's submission attempts. So Saint-Denis, 70% takedown defense. That's good. Came back and beat Kyle Propelic by arm triangle submission. You'd expect that, but the key here, excuse me, is he lost back-to-back fights against Renato Moicano KO. Dustin Poirier, second round KO. So he lost both of those, and he's beaten everyone else. He's beaten Matt Frivola, Thiago Moises, Ismail Bonfim by submission. When he wins, he's like he's either winning by finish or losing by finish. But when he got to the top, he had some setbacks. Maybe it made him better. I don't know. Ruffy beat King Green by KO, beat James Yontop by decision. He got outstruck in that one too. Beat Jamie Malarkey by KO and won at the Contender Series by KO. That James Yontop fight is concerning because he got outstruck 90-67 and still won. So Saint-Denis is going to be better than that. Ruffy also 100% takedown defense. Boy, it's going to be tough here. I mean, Saint Denis is going to be all fired up at home, but you can never discount the Brazilians. The Brazilians come, you know, don't invite Brazil to the party. They come to the party and wreck it, man. So I'm still, even though I'm a little concerned with the numbers, and I usually lean towards the numbers if there's not much more to go off of, like Ruffy, doesn't have that big competition. Like I'd like to see him face Poirier to be able to compare that to Saint Denis. You don't have that here. But Saint Denis still putting up better numbers against stiffer competition, so that's a problem. But Brazil always rises up better than you think they're going to be. Doesn't mean they always win, but they're better than the numbers in these big fights. So I still like Ruffy to pull this thing out, but I am a little bit concerned. But in terms of a pick, I got to go with Ruffy to outlast Saint Denis. Hopefully he can get a submission or a finish, but at worst he wins by decision. Uh, Not so much on the feet, but I think there's going to be a ground game that we're underestimated. And I mean, he could get the KO. Ruffy can finish you in a multitude of ways. So I'm just looking forward to seeing how this fight plays out. Saint Denis shown that he could be finished. So hopefully Ruffy gets the finish here to move to 13-1. That's my opinion. Lightweight division. UFC Paris. Whew, tough pick there. But we're going to take Ruffy. I mean, Saint Denis lost some fights, but he just makes me nervous. Like he could show up at any time and look unstoppable. And he's now had some opportunities to get in there against some of the best fighters in the world. And it didn't go well against Poirier and one other, but the bottom line is this guy could turn it up at any time. I'm not counting him out, but I just like Ruffy to get the job done. Then the big fight of the week, your main event, right? Nassourdine Imavov, 16-4 from France at home. And then, of course, the Brazilian coming in. Don't invite Brazil to the party. Caio Borralho, 17-1. If he gets this win, he'll be 18-1 and ready to take on Chimaev. Uh, he's got that one blemish on his record, but still a serious contender. And, really, this fight has the makings to be a great fight and really determine who's the next in line. So let's waste no time and jump into this one right now. In the middleweight division, your main event at UFC Paris, you got Nassourdine Imavov taking on Caio Borralho. And this is going to be a high-level matchup, and likely the one that wins will face Hamza Chimaev, and this fight is basically even. Imavov from France fighting at home, which is big for him. He's 16-4. Borralho from Brazil, 17-1. Imavov 2 inches taller is 6'3". He's 30. Borralho 32. Both guys 75-inch reach. Imavov stands right-handed. Borralho stands left-handed, so opposite stance fighters. Imavov 4.5 significant strikes per minute to 3.6, so he's got the advantage on the feet. Caio Borralho got the advantage on the ground with one takedown every 2 rounds. Imavov can go to the ground too, but he's trying to stand up and strike. He gets like 1 every 3. Imavov also 78% takedown defense. That's helpful. And he's won 4 in a row against Roman Dolidze. Majority decision. So, and I don't even know how that was a majority. It was 112-34 in significant strikes. How could a judge even call that a tie? He also beat Jared Cannonier by KO. Seems like yesterday. Brendan Allen by decision and KO'd Israel Adesanya in the second round. Pretty early in the second round. Borralho 76% takedown defense won't be necessary. Beat Jared Cannonier by decision. Dominated 153-83. Beat Paul Craig by KO. Abu Magomedov decision. And submitted McCall Alexichuk. So to me, Imavov has bigger fights and has won against better competition than Borralho, but Borralho's 17-1 too. He just hasn't had the opportunity to face as many good fighters. I mean, he beat Jared Cannonier, but when you look at Imavov the last 4 or 5 fights, he's facing some big-time opponents. On the other hand, Borralho is a guy that came to the Contender Series. He won 2 fights there to finally get in, right? Won the first one by decision. The second one by KO. He gets in. And since he's been in, he's won like 7 straight UFC fights, including the 2 at the Contender Series. So at minimum 9-fight win streak. Gosh, very tough fight to predict. I would rather Imavov win, honestly, to go against Hamza, but at the same time, Caio Borralho is 17-1. If it's a close fight and the fighter's from Brazil, I'm going with Brazil, and I got no choice but to do that here. I'm a little bit concerned about the stand-up game. I think Imavov is really good and could potentially win this fight, and this is why it's even. But I think Borralho will be able to take this fight to the ground at some point, and get the big victory. But again, he's he's not as tested as Imavov, which makes it tricky. But you can't discount him either because he hasn't lost. So we're going to find out how good Caio Borralho is. That's why we have these main events, and the winner's going to face Hamza. But I like Borralho to get the win. Nervous about the stand-up game, but the takedown game is there. Can he land takedowns and control time? We'll see. It's going to be a very close fight, a very exciting fight to watch. But I'll take Caio Borralho to win to move to 18-1, middleweight division main event at UFC Paris. Yeah, so I mean it's real simple. I mean, Borralho gets the win. And does it worry me for Hamza that Borralho is coming? Not really. Brazilian fighters always worry me, but I just think Hamza is way too good to be worried about either of these dudes. If anything, he should be more focused on Pereira versus Ankalaev, the rematch. Because if Ankalaev wins and I'm Hamza, I'm moving right up. March, April, May, June of next year, I'm moving right up and trying to get 2 belts right now, and then eventually trying to get up to heavyweight. But that's a topic for later. That's where we see Hamza going. But for right now, they're going to want him to defend the middleweight belt several times because now he's a staple of the UFC. He's number 1 on our due list for a reason. I mean, I just don't see anybody beating this guy, But now we've been able to relax because he's a champion. We're going to sit here and enjoy Imavov versus Borralho. We're 14-5 in terms of picks in the main event. Not great this year. Our overall win-loss record is about what we're used to from year to year, but the main events have been very tough to predict, and this one is the same. It seems like every fight is just even. I mean, what are the odds right now in this one going into this fight? Right now, updated, Borralho is slight favorite. It's almost even though, and that's what you're seeing. The matchmakers are doing an incredible job of setting up these fights. It's no longer like fan favorite fights. It's now serious. It used to be fan favorite fights. Everybody wants to see this guy fight for the title, even if he's not ready, and they were easy to predict. But now, when you're getting fights like this, a Imavov and Borralho, and it's even, I mean, the fight can go either way. And it makes it very, very tough to predict, and that's why we're 14-15. We're not losing our touch. We're not losing our game in terms of predictions, but it's just getting tougher and tougher to predict as time goes on. So listen, that's UFC Paris, right? Let us know throughout the week who's going to win this fight. We're going to continue checking in. We'll probably be back once before the fight. We'll get into, there's already a bunch of comments pouring in over a lot of these fights on this card, especially with Pitbull, Benoit Saint Denis getting all types of views. That's a very important co-main event as far as who's going to pull that fight out. That's why we made sure we got the prediction on this show, and just a lot of fights coming. Again, Ankalaev versus Pereira 2. I'm very excited about that fight, and I believe that Pereira is going to pull it out this time. I believe if he says he wasn't healthy, not healthy, but not 100% in the last fight, I take him for his word. And he's shown that after a loss, he can come back and get the job done. So therefore, I like Pereira to win that fight. And I would love, 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 love to see Hamza Chimaev versus Alex Pereira in the future. Make no mistake about it. And I would love even more to see Hamza Chimaev versus Tom Aspinall. And I know what y'all are thinking. Slow down, Chris Cross. Slow down. But that's where this thing is going. I want the best of the best to win in the light heavyweight and heavyweight, and Hamza move up and take them all down, regardless of weight class. But listen, that's a wrap for today's show. Again, we'll be back throughout the week. Hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, this is your boy Chris Cross. Hope you have a great day, and God bless. As always, peace.